You had the call.
Thank you, Deputy President. Well, today we had the withdrawal of a bill that should have never seen the light of day. I've heard some speakers earlier today talk about what it was meant to be, but what it wasn't. And it all comes down to a confluence of many things. The bill, in reality, ended up being three things. It ended up being a bill on disinformation, it ended up being a bill on misinformation, and it ended up being a bill on accessing data to social media platforms, one of which had merit. But what I hear in this place is exactly one of the problems we had with it. Mis and disinformation merging together. People's real views out there in the world, people's political expression, people's freedom of information merged with inauthentic, unreal, bots, disinformation. And that was just the beginning of what we saw, because this bill tried to fix what could have been a credible area around disinformation of inauthentic and non-state actors doing things by silencing those people at home, silencing those people out there with true beliefs and those people who wanted to progress thought in this country. I have many signs around my office to annoy my staff on the wall. I have Sun Tzu, I have Patton, I have all these things. And I think of the George Patton one in my conference room. When everyone is thinking the same, someone isn't thinking. And that's what we had in this bill. We had the absolute predominance of groupthink wanted. If you had any thought that was different than the mainstream, because we hear in this bill that opinion was not excluded. But I think Senator Sharma behind me in the committee stage pointed out in the EM, it explicitly went through and said opinion, even invective, was included in what could be contributing to serious harm. All of these things that the other side will say weren't included. We hear that it wasn't censorship, that the government never wanted to censor anything, but the government wanted to impose penalties so harsh on the platforms that they would have no choice but to censor these bills. When you are faced with global fines of up to $12 billion if someone allows misinformation to continue on their platform, what do you think you do? You shut down thought. You shut down speech. You shut down the ability for people to express their opinion. And nations are at their very best when people can think. Nations are at their very best when people can challenge the status quo. When we are all here and we hear the views dialling in, emailing in, writing in and telling us their views, it is only the weak of mind, it is only the weak of thought, it is only the weak who are challenged and offended by having that put upon us. And that is why freedom of speech should be not only implied in the Constitution, we should look at putting it enshrined in the Constitution. Because I love it when I can have a conversation with someone where I can hear new information, where I can make a new decision, where I can be challenged. And there were many, many reasons we heard. They want to link it to disinformation all the time. They want to link it to the worst of the worst. But when it comes down to opinion, when it comes down to silencing those at home and the penalties that went through, this had to stop. And this MPU up today is because it should never come back. It is okay that it was withdrawn. I had second thoughts when I saw Senator Roberts trying to withdraw this bill by himself on the notice paper last week, that maybe I wanted it brought in this chamber and voted down, because what the government achieved with this bill is something they couldn't achieve last year with The Voice. They actually unified all of Australia apart from themselves, because they didn't have another vote in this chamber other than the government. The Greens, the crossbenchers, every other party here was unanimous. This, as it stood, was not good enough. And it didn't just go in the chamber. It went to the witnesses. Over 3 days of hearings, led ably, I must say very well, by Senator Grogan across the road. One witness that was a government department, the Emergency Management Authority, only one said the bill should pass, and they actually had a greater stress on the disinformation phase than the misinformation. Every other witness had a problem with it on the way through. And I think it is great this bill is gone. I think it should never, ever see the light of day again. And I know that Australia is better when thoughts are out there, can be debated, can be challenged, and people can air their views without fear of persecution.